This year has been a year of awesome boss fights, especially in the wake of games like Resident Evil 2, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and Monster Hunter World Iceborne. But we've also had some disappointments, either because of simplistic mechanics, purely bad design, or the anticlimactic nature of how everything plays out. So let's take a look at the most disappointing boss fights of 2019. Octopus BT, Death Stranding. This is the first time Sam meets Higgs, the latter hamming it up as best as he can. Afterwards, Higgs summons a monstrous octopus BT to battle you. It's threatening enough, but not really. Stay on the rooftops and keep throwing hematic grenades. Despite all the flailing, it's not really that aggressive and can be dealt with from a distance in almost comically easy fashion. Archangel Eli, The Surge 2. An intricate-looking boss fight, yet one that's fairly underwhelming because it's possible to just keep attacking him without pause. Make no mistake, if you have enough armor, you can keep wailing on Archangel Eli, accumulating enough charges over time to heal any damage delivered. Is he cool? Sure, but as the ultimate boss fight to cap off The Surge 2, he's also kind of weak. Bounty Hunters, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. After a point in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, you start encountering random bounty hunters looking to drag you off for a reward. In essence, it's a really cool idea, but the bounty hunters themselves don't really mix things up. After a while, it feels like you're just fighting the same 2 to 3 types of hunters. Of course, it's also hilarious how some of them can just be dealt with by force pushing them off of cliffs, but then which human-sized enemies can't be. Eternatus, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Boss battles in a Pokemon game are usually reserved for gym leaders, battles with your rival, the Elite Four, the Pokemon Champion, or Legendaries. Case in point, without the Master Ball, Mewtwo in Pokemon Red and Blue could be fairly tough even if you were the same level. By that measuring stick, Eternatus is kind of not. The fight is part of the narrative, and you'll end up catching him regardless. It really saps a lot of the tension and overall risk away from the battle, but hey, free legendary. Shao Kahn, Mortal Kombat 11. In previous games, Shao Kahn was the big bad, proving a tough force to topple. While he's not the main antagonist of Mortal Kombat 11 and more for nostalgia value, it's still kind of disappointing to see him disposed of so quickly. On the other hand, while Kitana defeating him and becoming the queen of the Outworld was cathartic, that too felt rushed, especially since it was years in the making. HK Tank, Terminator Resistance. The overall plot of Terminator Resistance is assaulting Skynet's core and ending the war, along with protagonist Jacob going back in time to protect himself. When you arrive at Skynet's time displacement facility, the same place where it sends the Terminators back in time, your main boss is one HK Tank. Sure, there are some other Terminators to fight as well, but one HK Tank to protect a facility housing time travel? It doesn't even put up that much of a fight, making you question why Skynet bothered at all. Lothar, Wolfenstein Youngblood. Lothar has a jetpack and floats around the arena, soaking up bullets. Lothar also summons minions, who also soak up bullets. That's it. That's the final boss fight. For all the annoyances that Wolfenstein Youngblood offered up till this point, you would have expected a fun boss fight to top it all off, but nope. Fun fact, at launch, dying in boss fights wouldn't replenish any ammo upon respawn, and in the final boss fight, you couldn't just exit the mission to grind and level up, so it was live, die, repeat, except much less entertaining and with significantly less Tom Cruise. Tyreen the Destroyer, Borderlands 3. Throughout Borderlands 3, you're tasked with sealing the Destroyer, thus preventing Tyreen from merging with it. Of course, that plan goes belly up, and it's a race to kill Tyreen, who merges with the Destroyer anyway. Here's the problem. The Destroyer is hyped as this galaxy-destroying entity that required a planet-sized prison. When you fight Tyreen the Destroyer, it actually looks pretty small. Despite all the lasers and stuff, the fight itself isn't anything too crazy. Just shoot Tyreen a bunch, hop on her back to shoot the crit spot, and you're good to go. Ixalis 1516, Remnant from the Ashes. When the Root invaded various dimensions, it had to contend with different Guardians. Corsus is relatively free from the Root's influence thanks to its Guardian, but it isn't long before you're tasked with killing said Guardian for different reasons. So this is your encounter with a venerable dimension-protecting entity, the main twist being that there are 2 bosses to fight at once. The encounter is tough, but still fairly manageable. Basically, we expected something more epic and larger than life than just 2 floating entities while fighting on a bridge. Sadly, it wasn't to be. Nasty Nork, Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Remember how he successfully turned all of the dragons, we repeat, all of the dragons except for Spyro, into crystal? He must be one tough customer. So here's how the final fight with him plays out. You chase his minion holding the key to his platform. After unlocking the platform, you then chase after him. Then you reach him and hit him once. Fight over. We know that's how it was in the original PS1 release, but that doesn't make it any better. The Red Falcon, Contra Rogue Corps. After suffering through an ugly, terrible campaign, Contra Rogue Corps ends with the Red Falcon. This disgusting entity has some interesting bullet hell mechanics when it comes to lasers and projectiles. The problem is that the boss itself doesn't do much. It'll slam a tentacle down, which must be damaged, and repeat. Then its head is slammed down and must be shot while avoiding a few lasers. Not that we expected much, but it's still a meh end to an underwhelming release. The Monitor, Anthem. The fight against the Monitor isn't too terrible, especially since he gains a decent range of attacks. Yes, he's still a bullet sponge, but at least there are melee attacks to avoid, different arenas to fight in, and so on. So why is the fight disappointing? Well, on top of just being fine, it ends with the Monitor actually being defeated when Haluk crashes the Strider into it. The big bad is essentially dead through vehicular homicide, unless the game bugged for you and you missed the cutscene entirely. Cole D. Walker, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The arch nemesis of the Ghosts, their former brother in arms, the current leader of the Wolves, is just a guy walking around with 4 drones floating above his head. So you empty magazine after magazine to destroy the drones and fight off any wolves that come to help Walker. Of course, once the drones are down, Walker takes one headshot and dies. Couldn't they have at least given him a tank or something? Anything? It's not like the whole island is full of them or anything. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.